I'm Dr. Henri Colt. This presentation is part of Bronchoscopy Academy, an ongoing competency-based curriculum in flexible bronchoscopy. The goal of this work is to improve procedural understanding, anatomical recognition, and clinical judgment, while helping reduce patient suffering associated with unequal expertise and inconsistent training. In this lecture, we will review common tracheal abnormalities encountered during bronchoscopy. We will focus on systematic airway evaluation, recognition of important morphologic patterns, dynamic abnormalities, benign and malignant lesions, and the terminology required to communicate findings accurately in the bronchoscopy report. Every bronchoscopy report should tell a story that different readers interpret in exactly the same way. When describing the trachea, begin with morphology, comment on caliber, shape, patency, and any normal variants. Next, describe the appearance of the mucosa. Is it normal, inflamed, edematous, friable, infiltrated, or otherwise abnormal? If pathology is present, specify its location, extent, and character. Describe whether cartilaginous rings are involved, whether malacia is present, and whether abnormalities affect the posterior membranous wall. Finally, document airway secretions, including their quantity, location, and appearance. A structured description creates consistency and improves communication among clinicians caring for the patient. Normal tracheal anatomy varies considerably from one patient to another. A saber-sheath trachea is narrowed from side to side and is commonly associated with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Tracheomegaly represents abnormal enlargement of the airway. A horseshoe trachea demonstrates unusual cartilaginous architecture and altered airway shape. Recognition of these patterns is important because they may influence airway stability, secretion clearance, and interpretation of subsequent findings during bronchoscopy. Necrotizing tracheitis is a severe inflammatory condition characterized by mucosal destruction, ulceration, and necrotic debris. Bronchoscopically, the mucosa may appear irregular, friable, and covered with sloughing tissue. This condition is often encountered in critically ill patients, particularly those receiving prolonged mechanical ventilation. When present, careful documentation of the extent and severity of disease is important because significant airway injury and later stenosis may occur. Not all protrusions within the tracheal lumen represent disease. Prominent cartilaginous rings, bony spurs, and unusual airway configuration may be encountered as benign anatomic variations. These findings should be recognized and distinguished from infiltrative lesions, tumors, or inflammatory abnormalities. The bronchoscopist should develop familiarity with normal variants in order to avoid over-interpreting benign findings. Tracheobronchopathia osteochondroplastica is an uncommon benign disorder characterized by multiple cartilaginous and bony nodules projecting into the airway lumen. In this illness, one of the most important bronchoscopic clues is sparing of the posterior membranous wall. The nodules arise from the cartilaginous rings and often create a cobblestone appearance. Although usually discovered incidentally, extensive disease may occasionally contribute to airflow limitation or impaired clearance of secretions. Infiltrative disorders produce thickening of the airway wall and distortion of normal anatomy. Amyloidosis is a classic example. Bronchoscopic findings may include diffuse nodularity, irregular mucosal thickening, and airway narrowing involving the larynx, trachea, and carina. Unlike osteochondroplastica, infiltrative disorders often involve both cartilaginous and membranous portions of the airway. Recognition of these patterns helps guide biopsy and diagnostic evaluation. Tracheobronchomalacia refers to excessive expiratory airway collapse resulting from weakness of the airway framework, particularly airway cartilage. In the saber sheath pattern, the lateral walls move inward during expiration. In the crescent pattern, the anterior wall becomes flattened and airway narrowing develops dynamically during exhalation. Because these abnormalities may not be apparent during quiet inspiration, The bronchoscopist should carefully evaluate the airway during forced expiration or coughing, when dynamic collapse is most evident. The bronchoscopist may also choose to put the patient in a supine or in a lying or sitting position, as changes may be positional. In some patients, enlargement of the trachea is accompanied by marked airway weakness. These airways may collapse excessively during expiration and frequently accumulate retained secretions. Recurrent infection, chronic cough, and ineffective mucus clearance are common clinical consequences that ultimately may weaken cartilaginous structure, particularly in the setting of tracheobronchomegaly with malacia. The combinations of airway enlargement and dynamic collapse should immediately suggest this diagnosis. Excessive dynamic airway collapse, often called EDAC, differs from tracheobronchomalacia. In EDAC, the cartilaginous rings remain relatively intact. Instead, the posterior membranous wall bulges anteriorly during expiration, producing substantial narrowing of the lumen. Recognizing whether collapse originates from weakened cartilage or from excessive posterior membrane motion is an important component of bronchoscopic airway assessment. Tracheal stenosis may occur in several different forms. Web-like subglottic stenosis appears as a thin concentric membrane narrowing the airway. Circumferential stenosis produces more extensive reduction in airway diameter. Pseudoglottic stenosis frequently develops after tracheotomy and may be associated with cartilage injury, fracture, or malacia. Idiopathic tracheal stenosis most commonly affects women and typically involves the subglottic region. The origins of this is unknown. The narrowing is often smooth, circumferential, and without an obvious precipitating cause. Whenever stenosis is encountered, describing its location, length, morphology, and the estimated degree of obstruction is important. Primary tumors of the trachea are uncommon, but important to recognize. Adenocystic carcinoma often demonstrates submucosal spread and may involve long airway segments. Squamous cell carcinoma frequently appears as an irregular, ulcerative, or exophytic lesion protruding into the lumen. Careful bronchoscopic assessment helps determine disease extent, guides biopsy, and assists with therapeutic planning. Central airway obstruction may result from intraluminal tumor growth, extrinsic compression, or a combination of both. Here we see examples of invading thyroid cancer with extrinsic compression and a necrotic intraluminal squamous cell carcinoma obstructing the right main bronchus. Some lesions grow directly into the airway lumen, producing exophytic obstruction. The appearance may be nodular, infiltrative, or even necrotic. Here we see necrotic squamous cell carcinoma and a nodular appearance of both adenocarcinoma and squamous cell carcinoma. Other tumors may compress the airway externally while leaving the mucosal surface relatively intact. These include thyroid cancer invading the trachea and mediastinal malignancies, producing extrinsic compression. Here we see classic compression of the left main bronchus from esophageal cancer and tracheal compression from invasive adenoid cystic carcinoma. Understanding the mechanism of obstruction is essential because treatment options differ considerably depending on the underlying anatomy. Adenopathy may reveal itself as enlarged mediastinal lymph nodes that can significantly alter central airway anatomy. Subcarinal and pretracheal adenopathy may compress adjacent bronchi, distort the carina, and contribute to airflow limitation. Neoplastic involvement of the carina represents a particularly important finding because even relatively small lesions in this region can affect ventilation of both lungs. Careful description of the extent and location is critical for procedural planning. The close relationship between the airway and the esophagus means that pathology in one structure frequently affects the other. Esophageal malignancy may compress the trachea or main bronchi. Likewise, esophageal stents placed for palliation may create clinically significant airway narrowing. Whenever airway compression is encountered, consideration should be given to adjacent mediastinal structures as potential causes. Bronchoscopists occasionally encounter uncommon abnormalities, including tracheoesophageal fistulas and foreign bodies, or a tracheal bronchus. Here we see an image of a repaired congenital tracheocoel with its inside pouch associated with accumulated secretions that caused repeated infection and cough. This slide shows images of false passages caused by iatrogenicity, in this case a tracheomediastinal fistula caused by a tracheostomy tube. Although individually rare, such findings can have significant clinical consequences and should be recognized promptly. A systematic airway examination remains the best strategy for identifying unusual pathologies. Granulation tissue formation, on the other hand, is a common complication. Prolonged endotracheal intubation is often its origin, as well as long-term tracheotomy and even short-term tracheotomy tubes. Tissues may proliferate through tube fenestrations and project into the airway lumen. Granulation tissue can be caused by inflammation or any foreign body, including stents. Patients often present with cough, difficulty speaking, and intermittent hemoptysis or airflow obstruction, especially if the granulation tissue forms high in the trachea or near the vocal cords. Recognition of this complication is important because symptoms frequently improve after appropriate bronchoscopic or surgical management. In this lecture, we reviewed common tracheal abnormalities encountered during bronchoscopy, including morphologic variants, inflammatory disorders, infiltrative disease, dynamic airway collapse, malacia, stenosis, neoplasms, airway compression, and miscellaneous structural abnormalities. Bronchoscopy Academy is part of an ongoing competency-based approach to bronchoscopy education. Our goal is to reduce patient suffering caused by unequal procedural expertise, inconsistent training, and preventable error. Additional educational resources, reflective essays, and narrated lectures are available at bronchoscopy.org and henricolt.substack.com.